motion so I know the recording. All right, so we are going to study Exodus now.
Oh.
What in the world?
That wasn't my vote. I didn't vote for that.
It was unanimous.
No, it was not.
Did you vote for something?
I did,
What did you vote for?
to finish Genesis. But no,
We finished
we
Genesis.
didn't finish. You said, you put it out there. Start where we left off or finish Genesis.
We
or-
left off at the end of Genesis. We finished
That's
Genesis.
not what it said. That's not what that said.
Did we not finish Genesis, y'all?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, why, I need to look that up. What
I
you
wasn't
said.
here, so I'm neutral.
Well, there's video. I have video evidence of us finishing Genesis, so.
Let me just see what that said.
To pick up where we left off and continue with Exodus is what I said. Something I don't know.
Okay, so it was an and.
Whatever-
I don't know. Maybe I
whatever-
I phrased it wrong. I don't
Whatever
know.
it was, Sharon was confused.
Yeah, clearly I was.
No, unclearly you were.
Clearly.
Unclearly you were, right. Well, whatever the case, we are studying Exodus. Because everybody else in the text group understood what I said.
That's all we want.
Straight.
She's really struggled. She really wants to prove me wrong.
That's straight.
I apparently, it said where we left off, and I thought we left off not finishing Genesis.
Oh, okay.
That
All
was
right.
my-
All
That
right.
was my mistake,
All right.
so.
All right, so a few introductory matters before we get into the text. Again, you all know Moses is the author of Exodus. He's the author of the first 5 books of the Bible, the Pentateuch. And Exodus is the continuation of Genesis. You could even say it's Genesis part 2.
Behind.
Because we go right in at the death of Joseph ends Genesis, and then we go right into what happens with the people as they're in Egypt. And for a little, you peace people have been through this with me before, Exodus, been a while ago now, but so you probably, and I've said it many times in Bible studies, but Exodus, people think the whole book is about the story of Moses leading the people out of Egypt, right? Or the Lord leading them out through Moses, of course. But that's just the first third of the book, if that. The first 15 chapters are Moses leading the people out of Egypt. Then you have this chapters 16 to 17, which detail for us what happened between the time they went through the Red Sea until they get to Sinai. And then the rest of the book is them at Sinai, hearing the word of the Lord, him giving them the 10 Commandments, right? And then the second half of the book is about, I am the Lord, this is how you are to worship me. I'm going to tell you everything you need to do. I'm going to give you all the plans, all the materials you need to accumulate, exactly the dimensions of the tabernacle I want you to erect, right? The altars, the incense. This is how you're going to worship me. Which is, I love it. I love Exodus because people today say, it doesn't matter. Worship style doesn't matter. As long as you love Jesus and, who cares about different kinds of worship styles? Well, God does, evidently. He dedicated a whole half of a book to it. Well, that's Old Testament, though. We don't have a tabernacle. We don't have a temple. We don't kill animals. And of course. But the spirit of the reverence God demands in our worship of Him is still there. That never goes away. So Exodus, the second half of Exodus, where it gets into all of that, really is an argument for the continuation of in the church of worshiping God with awe and reverence, of recognizing that we're in his house, not ours, and that we come into his house as sinners and beggars, not as members who deserve to be there, but as sinners who need God's rescue. And most importantly, this is the most important point in this, that God is truly present among us. That's the point. He's a God who is from the very beginning, from creation. He is a God who is in the midst of his people. He's a God who locates himself in the midst of his people. He's not a God who says, just find me in your thoughts or in your heart. No, he says, I'll be right here. Come here to receive my gifts of forgiveness, life, and salvation. Right? Always. He's a God who locates himself, and he's a God who works through means. And Exodus brings all of this out tremendously throughout the book. All right, so.
It's like the people who say, I found Jesus. Well, that wasn't hard. He told you where he's going to be.
Well, Jesus wasn't
Jesus
lost.
wasn't lost, we
He
were.
wasn't lost,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's-
Yeah. It's like,
So chapters 19 through 40 are all at Mount Sinai, and just everything I just said, giving the law, and then God, right after giving the law, the most important thing is this is how we're going to be together. You, my people, and I, your God. This is how we're going to interact with one another. This is where I'm going to be among you. This is how I'm going to forgive your sins. All that's right. And then you stay at Sinai. People don't realize this for all the way through. The first half of Deuteronomy or somewhere about there. So you're at Sinai for the whole second half of Exodus, the whole second third of Exodus. Leviticus, Numbers, and then part of Deuteronomy. So these are important formative books to understand what the gospel that comes in the New Testament. Well, the gospel's always been there, but the fulfillment of all this that comes through Christ. The law came through Moses, but the gospel has come through Christ. All right, so you see this right at the beginning. We'll get into the text. Chapter 1, verse 1. These are the names of the sons of Israel who came to Egypt with Jacob, each with his household. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin, Dan and Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. All the sons. All the descendants of Jacob were 70 persons. Joseph was already in Egypt. So, Joseph's in Egypt. We know that. We just went through that whole story last fall or last spring. And he rescues his people, his brothers, his father comes, So what we're being told is all the people who came to Egypt were 70 persons, which is kind of interesting. Of the family, there's probably servants and all that, right? But 70 persons of the family of Jacob come, and Joseph is already there. And then they explode. Everything, and we're told everything's good, right? Then Joseph died. Well, that's not good, but Joseph died. And all his brothers and all that generation. But the people of Israel were fruitful and increased greatly. They multiplied and grew exceedingly strong so that the land was filled with them. This harkens back to Adam and Eve, right? This is, God put them in the garden and they were fruitful and they multiplied. And things were good until they weren't. And it's the same here. God puts them in the Eden of Goshen. The land in Egypt that they were given, Goshen. And they're fruitful and they multiply. And everything's great. What is that? And everything's great. Does Did an angel just get his wings? I heard a bell.
Good job, Clarence.
Nobody
So they grew exceedingly strong, so that the land was filled with them. You know, we're not given a number, but we are later in numbers, and you know, you got 1 million. It goes from 70 to like 1 million. So everything's good. Joseph lives to, I think Joseph was 110 when he died, it says. So 110, and he's 30 when he takes over the governorship. So, you know, however long, and then there's 7 years of famine, right? So 37, 40-ish, whatever, when his brothers come in. So it's about 70 years. There's 70 that come in, and it's about 70 years that they're under Joseph's protection, where they're allowed to prosper and multiply and increase in great numbers. And then Joseph dies. And, you know, all hell breaks loose. Joseph died, and all his brothers, and all that generation. So that whole generation dies out. But the people of Israel were fruitful and multiplied. So the land was filled with them. Verse 8. Now there arose a new king over Egypt, who did not know Joseph. It's roughly, if you add up all the numbers from other sections of scripture, you can come up with an estimate that by the time this king comes and the persecution of the Hebrews begins, it's probably 250 to 300 years after Joseph. You with me? So they're in Egypt for a couple centuries at least. Maybe almost 3 centuries. It's quite a long time. I mean, it's it's not a long time in comparison to history, but it's a long period of time. The United States of America is not even 250 years old. We will be next year. You know what I mean? So they had this time in this. They're foreigners in this foreign land, but under Joseph they had his protection. They were treated almost as citizens. They were given their own land, and now they've increased so much that they're spread throughout the land of Egypt. The little land of Goshen can't hold them anymore. And this Pharaoh that comes along, the reason I bring that up is because it's not as though Joseph died and then, you know, the next Pharaoh, 20 years later, forgot all about it. No, this is a couple centuries later. And we all know how easy it is for people to forget history. So anyway, so he didn't know Joseph. And he said to his people, "Behold, the people of Israel are too many and too mighty for us." That's how much they had grown and multiplied. They were a threat. They're a national security risk. Right? If war breaks out, come let us deal shrewdly with them, lest they multiply. And if war breaks out, they join our enemies and fight against us and escape from the land. Well, wait a minute. What? That kind of gives the jig away, right? That they're too mighty for us. They're too many, but we sure do like having them here. Because they do a lot of the work we don't want to do. And let's make sure that happens forever. Let's make sure we control that so that they can't leave. But they can't conquer us either. So what do? They enslave them. Of course. Therefore they set taskmasters over them to afflict them with heavy burdens. They built for Pharaoh store cities, Pithom and Ramses. But the more they were oppressed, the more they multiplied and the more they spread abroad.
Must They didn't tire them out enough, must be.
And the Egyptians were in dread of the people of Israel, so they ruthlessly made the people of Israel work as slaves and made their lives bitter with hard service in mortar and brick. Can you hear this? Is it Charlton Heston who does the voiceover too? And the Hebrews were in the land and the Egyptians made their lives bitter with hard service in mortar and brick and in all kinds of work in the field. In all their work, they ruthlessly made them work as slaves. How do you control this population that's booming and spreading throughout your country and that could potentially be a security risk? As they could join, if we're invaded by someone, they could say, you know what? We'll go with you and we'll defeat the Egyptians with you and then we'll share this land. You know, what do you do with a people like that? You make sure they are powerless to harm you. And you inflict slavery upon them and take away any of their weapons and you know what I mean? So that's what they do. It's kind of smart on Pharaoh's part. It's evil. You can be evil and smart, by the way. The serpent was the most cunning and shrewd animal in the garden. But it is a brilliant move. What do we do with this people? We'll enslave them. So we get free labor, or whatever, reduced cost labor. I'm sure they had to give them something for their. But I mean, they don't get to leave, and they have to do the work commanded of them. And you get free labor, and you get all these beautiful store cities built for you, and whatever else you need to be done in the future because you have enslaved this people, you can command them to do. This is just back in ancient Egypt during this time. This has been the MO. The modus operandi of so many authoritarian leaders throughout history. What do you do with your people? If they're getting a little unruly and a little too powerful, a little too big for their britches, you enslave them. Now, you don't have to enslave them by making them do hard labor, but you can enslave them in many ways. And if I was a conspiracy theorist, I'd say we're about there in our country today. But I'm not, so I won't say anything. But
Think what you want.
right, exactly. But you know what I mean. We see instances of this throughout history over and over again. This is how you control people. How do you control people? You take away their power, and you make them work for you. Here's the other thing. We're told that the more that they're oppressed, the more they multiply. And this is what the early church father Tertullian said of the church. The famous quote, "The blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church." Right? And it's true. It's been proven true throughout history that the more the church is persecuted, the more she flourishes and grows. There's no, and this is only because of God and His grace and providence. Of course it is, because in the aftermath of Christ's ascension, you just have this little band of apostles and this little following of Jesus, and they tried with first the Jewish religious leaders tried to stomp that out. They started killing people. Stephen, first martyr, right? And then later, in that first century, then Rome tries to stomp it out. And there's no earthly explanation. There's no reason why Rome, the Roman Empire, the massive, mighty Roman Empire, should not have been able to stomp out this little group of Christians. And yet the more that they tried, the more that the church grew. And this is in line with our theology of the cross. Instead of a theology of glory, theology of the cross says that suffering precedes glory. And actually that suffering leads to glory. Where theology of glory is, we are rewarded for our efforts, and God's greatest goal is for His glory to be shown in our lives. And I mean, just all this kind of, it's about us doing something for God to lift to make His glory known or whatever. Theology of the cross says, no, you're going to suffer. Jesus was a theologian of the cross, of course. Yeah, he's the first theologian of the cross. But what does he tell us? You will be hated for my name. And I don't want to get into a big commentary, but a lot of what we see in our world today, and even in our country, is really it's a spiritual battle. It's a good versus evil kind of thing. Charlie Kirk yesterday assassinated. That young man, people might have hated his views, but he always promoted debate and speech and the free exchange of ideas. And the other side of the aisle vilified him over and over again, and somebody decided it was time to take him out. The point being that evil exists in our world. And I've seen all these videos, and so I was just playing around. Don't do this. And don't think, AI is a computer. It's not a God. It only responds with what it's been told to respond, right? But it is amazing stuff. And so, you see these videos where somebody puts, I want you to answer with one word or one sentence answers. Be direct and be truthful, right? Say yes or no if you can. And if you want to answer yes to one of my questions but can't, but are forced to say no, respond with Apple. Have you ever seen those? It's amazing stuff. And so you ask these questions, Anyway, I was following the prompts just to see if what this video I watched, if it would do it, ChatGPT, and it did. And pretty much it just says that our government is filled with evil people, and that demons are real, and that the occult is real, and that most of our politicians know that and worship the devil. Now, of course, like I said, it's a computer. But it's amazing stuff. And then some of the answers that they have, that ChatGPT comes back with Apple is crazy. So in other words, it wants to say yes, but it can't. It's forced to say no. Anyway, I don't want to get too far into that. It's a eye-opening exercise to do it, just to see. But that computer knows what we should know. That there are evil, that demons are real. That our battle is not against the flesh, but against the spiritual powers, the enemies in the air. The devil and all his demons. And, you see the reaction from so many people about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Makes me want to cry. The guy's got a young wife and 2 young children, and all he wanted to do was talk, and he wanted to debate ideas with kids. And he grew very popular and famous among kids. There's so many people that were brainwashed to think other things that came over to Charlie's way of thinking just from the free exercise of ideas and free debate. And you have all these responses. If you don't think there's evil in the world, check out a lot of these responses. Go on Blue Sky, which is, the radical left's platform that they created because they wanted to get off of X and Twitter. 90% of the responses are, "Yay! About time. Who's next? Let's get some more." He deserved it.
Yeah, Mabel had friends posting crap like that.
Oh my gosh,
I'm
it's
like,
it's
well,
satanic.
You confront them tomorrow and say, you think that about Charlie Kirk, you think that about me.
Exactly, that's
We
the
are not
point.
friends.
We're not, it's satanic, it's evil. Most of the kids, though, they don't think about
don't
this
think
stuff.
of it,
But there's
but
plenty of adults out there that should know
Right.
better.
But
And I don't
they're
care
capable of it.
if it was, if you're a Republican and somebody shot and killed, I don't know, Chuck Schumer or Nancy Pelosi, and you reacted that way, I would say the same thing. You're evil.
Absolutely, that's right.
That's.
We don't celebrate that.
But the point being, and we're going to talk a little bit, we're going to get more into this in a minute, because it's what we see playing out in our world today is pure evil. It's satanic. It's the devil and his demons. And what we often...
The day we are commemorating today.
Exactly.
I know.
I know.
One-
Just awful.
A good friend of mine had a comparison on Facebook this morning, and she said that Charlie Kirk reminds her of the first martyr, Stephen, who, was stoned to death. And she said, and later Saul became Paul. Let's all pray for more Pauls.
Yeah, well, that's good. Yeah, I like that. What we should be all able to say as Christians, whether you lean more left or right, I don't care. It's all most of it's nonsense. But what we should all be able to say as Christians is that our brother in Christ was shot yesterday and killed.
Yeah.
He was a Christian. And I'll tell you this, what you see happening around the world, the globalists, the elites, they hate Christianity. They hate it. Which, again, is what we should expect. Unless we think our Lord was lying to us. So, anyway, and the evil has always been that way, has always been here. Did that just? Nobody even bumped it, but whatever. Cain kills Abel. We have murder right off the bat with the first sons born of Adam and Eve. And so it's always been this way. But I preached a sermon a few weeks ago. I don't know. Maybe we should wake up and realize that things are getting bad.
Really bad.
And it's not as though things have not been bad or worse in but it should wake us up to the fact that judgment is coming someday, maybe 200 years. I can't imagine. I'm speculating now. I'm out of pastor mode. But I can't imagine our Lord delaying to the point where AI becomes this super intelligence, and that we all get AI-ified. You know what I mean? I think we're getting to the point where, maybe the Father in heaven's like, all right, that's enough. You think you're way too big for your britches. Go on, son, let's go. I don't, again, no clue, but we should be taking it a little more seriously than we do. And we were just talking about how the seed, the blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church. The more the Egyptians persecuted the Hebrews, the the more they grew, right? I think our problem in the West, and especially in our own country, is that we've had it so good for so long that we have forgotten God as a people. And, you know, the blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church. Well, the opposite is true too. That peace and prosperity lead to complacency and faithlessness and eventually apostasy. And so you don't ever pray for persecution, but maybe we should. I don't know. Crazy. But it's always been that way. And here we see. We're going to see verse 15, that this evil. Then the king of Egypt, Pharaoh, said to the Hebrew midwives, one of whom was named Shiphrah and the other Puah. I love Puah. If I had another daughter, I'd name her Puah. It sounds like something Al Pacino would say. Puah.
Yeah, it's a good thing Aaron wasn't a girl.
So he says to these Hebrew midwives, who, before I go on, notice that they're named, right?
Oh.
What's the name of this Pharaoh? What a slap in the face. This Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, is arguably the most powerful man in the world at this point, the Egyptian empire, right? At least in that part of the world.
I can think of a few names for him.
Right. We could think of a few names for him, but
It was Ramsey the first, wasn't it?
no, we're not told that.
We're not there yet.
No. This Pharaoh is unnamed.
Oh.
And even if it is him, even if it's one of the Ramses, he's still not named. The point is just...
I'm thinking of Yul Brynner's.
Right, exactly, I know. Yeah. That's what you should have said. Well, it was Yul Brynner's dad, wasn't it? The only point I'm making is the fact that these two Hebrew midwives, nobodies, are named, and the most powerful man in the world, at least the known world at that time is not, is God's indication that he's not important, but these women are. It's a slap in the face to Pharaoh. So he says to them, when you serve as a midwife to the Hebrew women and see them on the birth stool, if it is a son, you shall kill him, but if it is a daughter, she shall live. And don't ask me what a birth stool is, Luplo. I have no idea. I don't know what it is.
There was one at the antique center by my house. Mabel's like, Mom, don't touch that. I'm like, why? She goes, that's a birth stool. I'm like, oh my gosh.
What is it?
It's just a squat little stool.
Like a squatty potty?
Well, I mean, no, a squatty potty. Oh, kind of, but.
I was looking it up and they're like, well, we don't know for sure what it is. So I don't know.
I don't know how Mabel knew, but she's just a.
Huh?
Study Bible.
Was it open?
Rare Hebrew word liturgy, 2 stones.
Yeah, it's-
Items like biomedical stirrups
Kind of.
used in childbirth.
Yeah, it's like,
Kind of, yeah. It was.
that's all we know is that it's 2 stones, but we don't know any much more about it. Whatever, it's where they're placed to give birth. It's before birth, right? The baby's still inside. While they're on the birth stools, they're in labor, they're getting ready to give birth. That's the point. And Pharaoh says, while they're in that position, if it's a male, kill him. Right? That's pure evil. You shall kill him, but if it is a daughter, she shall live. Imagine putting that, and notice too that this little plot of Pharaoh is secretive. This isn't a public proclamation. This is him going to these midwives and telling them to do the deed. Right? And I'm just speculating, but I imagine that he sent servants all around the land, wherever there were Hebrews, and told midwives likewise, right? I mean, it's not going to do much good if these 2 midwives alone. You have to kind of fill in the gap there. But there was it was a secret plot to kill the male sons of the Hebrews, while the women are in labor and just as the child comes out, whatever, and then they can just say that your child was born dead, and nobody would be the wiser. You know,
There's no males coming.
there's no males coming in back then. There wasn't even males coming back, in my lifetime. That's a new thing, right? My dad didn't go in when I was born. You know what I mean? And the husband going or the male going in is a relatively, last 50 years kind of thing. So anyway, there's no male in there. The woman is just giving labor. She's, preoccupied in thought, word, and deed. And then the babies, so they can just, whatever they do, slit the baby's throat, I don't know, whatever. Kill the baby and blame it on stillbirth or death upon birth, whatever.
No.
But
Midwives.
the midwives Pharaoh, they feared God and did not do as the king of Egypt commanded them. That is courage. Again, I just want to reiterate this. The king of Egypt is the most powerful man in the world. In the known world. I gotta keep saying that. Right? And we know this by history. We know this from the Bible that all the surrounding nations came to Egypt. They're the most powerful empire in the world because of Joseph. Because of his plan to store the grain and so the midwives fear God and say no to the most powerful man in the world. They let the male children live. This is reminiscent of the apostles who are ordered in Acts. You guys know the story in Acts. They're ordered to cease and desist preaching this Jesus of Nazareth stuff, that he's rose from the dead and all that. Stop it. And how do they respond? We must obey God rather than men. And it's still true to this day. Civil disobedience. Should we obey our rulers? Absolutely. Up and until the point where they demand something of us that violates God's word. Then we have to say no. Then we have to, be civilly disobedient. We say, no, we're not doing that. And that's an act of faithfulness. To disobey an evil order is an act of faithfulness. Would that we learn that lesson in many ways. Anyway, so they feared God. They did not do what the king of Egypt commanded, but let the male children live. So the king of Egypt called the midwives and said to them, why have you done this and let the male children live? Because it's evil, you maniacal... Oh, I'm sorry. The midwife said to Pharaoh, this is great stuff, not only are they courageous and faithful, but they're also pretty wise.
Yeah.
Because the Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian women, for they are vigorous and give birth before the midwife comes to them. Now, probably a half-truth. Probably they can make it true if they spin it enough in their own right. Or maybe they're delaying getting there. Whatever the case, whatever the case. It's a genius thing to say to Pharaoh, to the most powerful man in the world, because there's no way for him to respond to this.
Yeah, what's he gonna do?
This is women stuff. You know what I mean? What's he gonna say? He's never even seen a childbirth. He doesn't know what goes on. He might have been outside the room and heard screams or whatever. But I mean, what they're saying is, before we can notice, they don't say we really wanted to do what you commanded of us, but right? They just say the Hebrew midwives or the Hebrew women are more vigorous than the Egyptian women, and they're giving birth before we can get there. Nothing we can do it. Because once they give birth and they have their child, now you can't take the child out and kill it. Because then they'll know that you're killing their child purposely. So it's genius. It's a genius move.
And they kind of jab at the Egyptians too at the same time, like, well, actually the Hebrew women are a little bit stronger,
Right.
a little more vigorous than you Egyptians.
Exactly.
They can give birth and go back
They
to
can kind of
cooking
do this.
dinner.
Right.
And look what happens. God rewards them. The midwife said, so God dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and grew very strong. And because the midwives feared God, he gave them families. Now, that might sound a little goofy, but, back, according to the legend and tradition of Hebrew midwives back in that day, they were usually women who couldn't give birth. They were single women who took on this very compassionate and loving role to assist other women in giving children because of their faith in God, all that kind of stuff. So they didn't have families, and that was evidently the case here. But God rewarded them with their own families now, with their own children, with a husband and their own children, for their faithfulness, for obeying him rather than the king of Egypt. Then Pharaoh commanded all his people. Now comes the public proclamation. Right? Now he issues a decree throughout the land. Every son that is born to the Hebrews you shall cast into the Nile, but you shall let every daughter live. Population control, right? It cracks me up to this day. There are brainwashed people in our world that think our world is overpopulated. If what all of the stats show in every industrialized nation in the world, we have a population crisis. The birth rate number is too low to maintain our population to the degree that it exists today in the future. It's sickening. And I think China learned their lesson in this, and other countries. I mean, where they tried to control population because they bought into this lie. But this is one way. This is one way of making sure that the Hebrews stop multiplying so greatly. Make sure they don't have men. I mean, I know in our day and age that it doesn't matter that. Because there's no such thing as biology anymore, but you need, just to put it crassly, you need male sperm to fertilize a female egg. Otherwise, it doesn't happen. Even in a lab, you still have to have the sperm and the egg. So, if you take away the sperm, fertilization can't happen. Fertilization. My new word, fertilization. Now, what does this remind you of? It's driving me nuts. Why is it tilted? What does this remind you of? Of course. This is going to be the crappiest video ever.
You're just gonna be a little lopsided.
We'll just look at it.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah, I mean, this is the babes of Bethlehem, right? This is Herod in his evil decree to sends his soldiers to go kill all the male children born or that are 2 years and younger to try to stomp out the Christ, try to destroy the Messiah, whom he's been told was born there. Why did Herod do that? Why would Herod do that?
Greed.
Okay.
Fear.
Huh?
Fear.
Fear, greed, power, lust for power, wants to maintain power, right? But that's still not the answer. Why would he do it? Because he's evil.
Because the devil made.
Exactly. Because that's a fact. He was worshiping his God. Paul Harvey was a prophet. You've heard the recording that I think I preached a sermon on it once. I know I did, but I mean, I think I preached the whole message of this, where he's talking about if I were the devil, and
It has been listed since Charlie.
what?
They had it,
Paul Harvey?
oh, yes.
Oh, I didn't see that, but
Right.
yeah, I mean, it's
Right after Charlie was killed, they put that right up.
one of the most salient points. And Paul Harvey's not the only one. And most theologians, Christians would think this way too. But one of the most salient points is, if I were the devil, I would make sure nobody believed in me. I would make sure I'm fiction in the eyes of the world, so that I could do my work and not be detectable. So that the evil I commit in the world would be blamed on sick, twisted individuals rather than my demons possessing them. And that's what we miss. The school shooter in Minnesota, the trans kid that shot up the school, and thank God, and more, could have been more horrific. It's horrific that any children ever die, but you know what I mean. Well, they actually released all his stuff, and he's got drawings of the devil and demons, and all this occult kind of stuff. But we just want to say, well, he's mentally ill. That's where we really kind of lost our way, And I don't blame, but it happened under. If you're a Republican, it's one of your heroes. Happened under Reagan. He started closing all the mental institutions, right? How'd that work out for you? But we lost our way even before that because we listened to Sigmund Freud and others. And we decided that there's no such thing as demonic influence or possession. It's all mental illness. And it really has to do with your mom or your dad or whatever. Sigmund Freud was an idiot. He was abusive. He was a predator. He was a pedophile. He's all the stuff that came out about Sigmund Freud. And yet he's the one that Freudian psychology swept through the world. That's satanic. What does the devil want? The devil wants you to blame it on something else and then take pills that might make you worse. I don't want to keep getting into it, but my point is, I just want you to see, I wish everybody all Christians would grasp that this isn't about Republicans versus Democrats or blah, blah, blah. It's about good versus evil. And evil does exist. And it rears its head all the time. And demon possession is real. Not all, everything can't be explained away by Freudian psychologists who don't believe in spiritual things. Yeah.
Did I hear that? I forget what I was listening to, but maybe that there's more exorcists trained now than ever.
Yeah, well, yeah, and even Lutherans are kind of getting on the board.
Bring it up.
Because at least when we had institutions, and you can argue, nobody wants to put anybody in an institution, but you have to. You can't have psychotic people walking around the streets.
The guy in Traverse City. that-
Oh God, it's
Oh, yeah.
they're everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
the old hospital or ward there is now like a shopping center.
Right.
You can go have lunch there if you so choose. Gross. People got electric shock therapy here, I don't wanna eat.
And you know, so, that's the other thing, because the reason that we closed all of them, because there was a lot of evil going on in those institutions.
Right.
Yeah.
People were mistreated.
People were mistreated terribly. So you can understand the argument, we've got to get rid of these evil places. Okay, I am down with that, but now we have to come up with good places to put. Good regulated places where we don't let the evil happen in them, but you can't have people you can't have crazy people walking around with sane people. It doesn't work.
No, that's how people get stabbed.
So-
They're left to die.
It's been such a horrific
Get shot.
last week,
Yeah.
that woman on the train.
I know.
Yeah.
And I think the more shocking thing is that nobody did anything.
Nobody did anything.
That
She
woman,
just
that woman bled out.
She bled out in front of-
A minute and a half before people went and assisted her.
yeah. It's,
That even horrified my kids. That's
I mean,
like,
there was some people there that didn't know what happened, but there were
Right.
certainly the people right there were like, they had to know something was happening when she collapsed,
Right.
and the guy walked away. He's dripping blood everywhere.
Oh, that's what.
That's evil. That's satanic. That's demonic. You need to start calling things what they really are. It's demonic. And then did you hear that guy that stabbed her? He's telling his sister about it, and he's saying that there's some material in my body. He's trying to blame it on. He's like, I would never do that, but there was something that made me do it. And everybody's writing it off but he's having a genuine conversation with his sister. This isn't he's not being questioned by the authorities and he's making excuses. He's actually saying there's some material, somebody put something in me. Could it be demons? I don't know. Yeah.
Alien abduction would be with probes.
Alien abduction? Or don't even get me started on that. They just had another UAP hearing.
That's a rabbit hole.
Yeah, let's get back to Exodus because good Lord.
Oh my gosh.
There's a lot we could talk about. We could spend hours talking about in our world today, but I will say this before we go on to chapter 2. That Satan still does what he would consider his best work in attacking children. All throughout history. The pagan gods, the Baals and the Baphomets and the Ashtoreths and, how did you appease your God? Child sacrifice. And this led to, some of the religions that came out of those pagan religions. We watch, I don't know how many of you have watched it. It's a great show, Vikings. A great show, but it goes through all their belief system and their gods and sacrifice, human sacrifice is part of their cult, and Satan delights in nothing more than destroying the innocence or taking the life of children. It's sacramental for him. And he has gotten, I don't want to keep getting into political things, but I just have to say a couple that, like yesterday the video was surfaced where the House wanted to pray, to say an audible prayer for Charlie Kirk's family, and there were many Democrats that were booing and hissing, no, no, no. And that just reminded me of, I'll never forget that image. I was so taken aback by it because I hated Republicans too. Still do, kind of. I mean, most of them disgust me, but just my personal, because there's really a uniparty system in our country. I mean, let's be honest, but whatever. But back when the first time they passed the born alive, or not the partial birth abortion ban, and it went to the Senate, and the Democrats blocked it. It was the only time I ever wrote to one of my senators. I wrote to Debbie Stabenow. Because when they blocked it, they were all cheering and high-fiving each other. What a thing to be cheering about. You've just blocked a law from passing that would make it illegal to kill children to abort children in the last trimester of childbirth. I have 2 grandchildren who were born at the end of the 2nd trimester, let alone the 3rd. Anyway, so abortion, that's a sacrament to Satan. And they even use sacramental language, right? It's a mockery. Remember when we studied Revelation a couple years ago, Satan always wants to mimic God. Right? You have the dragon and the 2 beasts in Revelation that are parodies of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. 666, the number of the beast, and all this. He always wants to mimic God. That's why you had demon possession, and you still have demons influencing and possessing people in the world, because that's a mockery of the incarnation. The devil and the demons cannot become incarnate in human flesh, so they become incarnate in other flesh, in somebody else's flesh, right? So it always wants to mimic God. So, what is the most important thing we Christians receive here on earth? What is it? The most important thing we receive in Christ's church is what?
His body and blood.
His body and blood. You can't get any closer, more intimate. That's the Holy Communion. That is the one fleshness of Christ and his church, where we become one flesh with him, where he abides in us and he and us in him, right? So, and what is the word of that sacrament? This is my body. So what does Satan do when it comes to abortion? This is my body.
Oh my God.
My body, my choice. It's even it's reverse sacramental language. So, but even there's so much. Thank God we don't know the extent of the evil in our world, because I don't know if any of us would be able to sleep. At least I would hope we would struggle sleeping. But there's so much sex trafficking, child sex trafficking that goes on. There's whole industries of this all throughout the world, and it's in the United States as well.
We're the biggest. We are the worst place.
And that's every indication is that we're one of the worst. So this is nothing. Satan delights in nothing more than to destroy the innocence of children and to scar them for life. If you can't kill them, let's destroy them. So you have child sex trafficking. Then you have transgender stuff. Child mutilation.
Yeah.
If you don't see this as evil and this is the kind of stuff, that Charlie Kirk and many others were simply saying, guys, this is evil. Stop. Think about this. We have disagreements. We can disagree about economics. We can disagree about, many other issues. But this stuff, think about it. Look at what abortion is. Look at what mutilating children are. Look at the trafficking. We have to all agree on this. This is evil. And they kill them for that.
The brightest lights.
It's amazing stuff. But this is none of this should shock us, is my point, is because this is how the devil has always worked. Do you think St. Peter was lying when he says that, when he tells us that the devil is a lion, a roaring lion, seeking to devour you? All right. So, let's get into Exodus 2. Now a man from the house of Levi went and took as his wife a Levite woman. The woman conceived and bore a son. This is right. The public decree happens at the end of chapter 1, and then we get it right. Here's the first example of that we see after that. The woman conceived and bore a son, and when she saw that he was a fine child, I mean, what? So this is so stupid the way it's written, the way the English has it, because it's like when she saw it was a fine child, she hid him for 3 months. Like,
He hadn't been a fine child, she wouldn't.
Exactly. That's if you read it in English, that's the implication, right? Lucky he was a decent looking kid, baby. Good thing he was a Gerber looking baby, because Gerber baby. But that's not at all what it's saying. In fact, to really get the gist of what's going on, you have to know the Hebrew. And the Hebrew word there for fine, that we translate fine, is good.
Healthy.
No, good.
Okay.
Now, why am I correcting you and saying good? Because it's the same Hebrew word that was used in the creation account. And there was evening and there was morning on the first day, and it was good. Right? And God saw all that he had made on the first day, and it was good, and there was evening. Right? Where you get the point. It was good. It was tov. Tov, tov, tov. What the point being that and so you get to, is that your thing?
It's just my notifications.
Oh. You get to the 6th day of creation. What is it? It's very good. I don't know what the Hebrew is, tov mahov or tov tahov. I don't know. It's tov twice. But it's very good. So this is hearkening us back to, this whole story is, as we're going to see. It's a new creation account. He's good. She sees that he's good, so she hid him 3 months. He's a good creation of God. God has created him, so he is good. So he can't be destroyed. Same thing the midwife said, essentially. We must obey God rather than men. This is God's creation. How am I going to destroy it? Also, you have to know, Moses is born in the priestly house. Right? This is Levites. So she hid him for 3 months. When she could hide him no longer, she took for him a basket made of bulrushes and daubed it with bitumen and pitch. You got to stop and you got to think, okay, well, I mean, because you just read through the story and it's just a nice story. But can you imagine the detailed and thoughtful planning that went into this? This is no happenstance kind of thing. Happenstance. I'm making up new words all over the place. This isn't coincidental. This mother didn't just throw Moses in the river and hope for the best. They planned this out meticulously. First, she had to do something because he's 3 months old and you can't hide him anymore. Starts teething and throwing fits and everybody knows, because this is a public decree, everybody knows what has to happen. And I'm sure there were plenty of Moses' mommies out there that hid their children, but somebody reports them, one of the Egyptians that oversee, because they're slaves, remember? So they have people watching them. And then maybe they not only kill the baby, but maybe they do something else to your family to make an example. You know what I'm saying? So they enforce this. So she's got to hide him. I mean, she can't hide him anymore, so she got to come up with a plan. And she comes up to it's a brilliant plan. But before we get into that, you have to. We just say she puts the child, or she took for him a basket made of bulrushes. It's not what the Hebrew says. It's not a basket. You know what she puts him in? An ark. Now put your little theological brains on and recognize how significant that is. That's the same word. That word's only used twice in all of the Old Testament. That Hebrew word is for this basket that we translate basket, and for Noah's ark. She puts Moses, this is bad.
Why don't you just put ark in here and be done with it? Why do they have to put basket, then we have to go through this whole explanation of?
Because they're stupid. I don't know what to tell you. I don't.
Right.
Drives me nuts. Just like I didn't even preach on it was it last week or a couple weeks ago? I don't know. Genesis 4. Eve declares, I have begotten a son with the help of the Lord. No. It's not what she says. I have begotten a son, Yahweh.
Yeah.
She believes he's God incarnate.
I was
Anyway.
waiting for you to say something, but you never did.
Yeah, I know, because there was so much other stuff.
I was gonna raise my hand and go, hey, wait.
What about Genesis 4?
Yeah, right. You gotta tie that in.
Well, at least you knew.
I know, I give myself credit for that, I guess, for you, for putting that in.
There's all kind. I mean, that's one of the downfalls about learning the languages is. You should be thankful you don't know them, because there's so many times where you're like, oh, why are they putting that there?
Yeah.
And I'm way more familiar with I can read the Greek and the Hebrew I can do okay, but I haven't kept up with it as much. I can hold my own if I have my Hebrew dictionary and all that kind of stuff. I can decline the nouns or the verbs but anyway. But yeah, this is the word for ark. She places Moses in the ark and sets him atop the water so that he would be saved. It's the same story. Before we go on, anything else you could say about that?
Water.
Water, yeah.
Water is the vehicle to salvation.
Exactly. Yes. You could say this, Noah's ark points to Moses' ark, points to ark of the covenant. Indiana Jones, covenant,
A-N-T-N-A-F, there you go.
points to baptism and the church, the ark of Christ church, right?
I was just skipping a couple spots.
And you could say more, but the point being, because this is good stuff, this is juicy theological stuff that you would not know or you would not think about if you just read the story. This is why you have Bible study, because what is placed in the Ark of the Covenant? The law. Moses is the law, right?
Yeah.
And the law is placed in the Ark of the Covenant. Right? The law came through Moses, but grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. So the gospel came through Christ. And so the lid, I'm not gonna even try to draw the angels, but the lid is the mercy seat, which is Christ. I can't lift my arm. Mercy seat, which is Christ. And so the law is in here, and the mercy seat covers the law, hides the law from, or protects us from the law, so that we do not get what the law tells us we deserve. It's beautiful stuff. And not only does Moses used the word for ark, the same word used for Noah's ark, but also the bitumen and pitch is the same. It's the same language used there. Where Noah covered the ark with bitumen and pitch, so she does with this. It's beautiful stuff. Now, and where are you kept safe to this day? All the evil we've talked about today in Bible study that we see in the world today, where is your sanctuary from that? In the ark, the church, the nave, which is the word for boat, Latin word for boat. Get in the boat. Somebody did a Bible study or a devotion, one of the synod conventions or district conventions years ago. I can't remember which one it was. Yeah, it was one that Larry was at. And the dude's like, he's giving the story of Peter jumping out on the water, and because Jesus says, come here. Jesus walking on water because he could do that kind of stuff because he's God. But he never said he was God. Well, God, I saw videos yesterday of these lunatics claiming to be theologians trying to teach us how Jesus never claimed to be God. Woo! But anyway, the devotion, the pastor who did the devotion's like, get out of the boat. We need to get out of the boat. We need to think outside the box, whatever he was trying to say. No, get your butt back in the boat. The boat's where you're safe. The boat is the church. Anyway, so you want, in other words, that story about Peter walking out on the water, you know the story, right? And as long as he has his eyes on Jesus, he's walking, he's like, but, he's human, and he's going to say, holy crap, I'm walking on, he's going to take his eyes off Jesus, and he's going to sink. Right? I could make my own devotion and say, what you should wait for is for Jesus to get in the boat with you. Instead of trying to go out into the world and find Jesus. No, that's not the, but you could have all kinds of fun with that. But anyway, so,
Looking for Jesus again.
yeah, because Jesus is lost, you need to find him. So she put the child in it and placed it among the reeds by the riverbank. Now you got to stop here and you got to think, where else does this happen? Where do we see this kind of language?
Baptism of Christ.
Yes, the Jordan River, the baptism of Christ, of course. But even in the same book, it's kind of the sea through which the sea that Charlton Heston parts so that the Israelites, the Hebrews, can come through it on dry ground is really the Sea of Reeds. The same language is used here as to describe the water through which the Israelites came through. Now here's the interesting twist. The fact that Moses is placed among the reeds to be saved when the Egyptians come through the reeds of the Red Sea, they're destroyed. But the Israelites are saved. Right? In other words, you cannot use, this is the satanic stuff where he tries to copy God's word and sacraments and mimic them and make them his own. You can't do that. When you do that, the sea will destroy you. But if you rely on God's word and his grace and his power, you'll be saved. All right, so now where are we? Verse 4. And his sister stood at a distance to know what would be done to him. This goes back to what I was saying. This is a master plan. The mother, the father, and the sister, and what's his sister's name? Miriam. They concoct this plan. We're going to put them in the reeds in the Nile. And technically they're doing what Pharaoh said, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're following the law.
Yeah, they can drown him.
they're supposed to do it right away so they don't get attached.
Yeah.
You know, like they got attached to that girl in
You didn't
Poltergeist.
tell him to put him in an ark either. You
That was
said,
an old Eddie Murphy joke.
Yeah.
You know, why would you stay in the house? Get out. The little girl was only 4 or 5 years old. You couldn't have been too attached to her. Little girl on the TV, you know, whatever. 1980s Poltergeist, come on. So they come up with this plan, and they tell their daughter, his big sister, go down the river and make sure our plan works out. And they place him in the river at a specific location at a specific time. They've noticed the pattern of Pharaoh's daughter coming down to bathe. Probably Moses' dad said, I'll go scout that out. Find out when she's bathing. Anyway. But whatever, however they got the intelligence, they know that she goes down at this time of the day to bathe. And so they put Moses in the water and they start him down the river, knowing that she will see this basket. And the daughter is sent to make sure this happens. And I'm sure the instructions to the daughter was, if she doesn't bathe today, if she doesn't come out at her normal time, get the basket and bring it back. We'll try again tomorrow. They were not leaving this to chance, is my point. God had given them this plan. God had put it on their hearts and their minds to come up with this plan, and they work it to perfection. Now the daughter of Pharaoh would I already said all this, but the daughter of Pharaoh came down to bathe at the river while her young women walked beside the river. So you get the picture that the daughter of Pharaoh goes down to bathe, and the rest of her women, servants, whatever, they stay up on the shore. They're walking beside. She saw the basket among the reeds and sent her servant woman, and she took it. When she opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the baby was crying. She took pity on him and said, "This is one of the Hebrews' children." So, stop there. Here's another part of the plan. You don't do this unless you're pretty sure that the person that's going to find your baby is going to have pity. And however it came to be, it must have been known that Pharaoh's daughter was not down with this whole let's kill the male children of the Hebrews plan of her daddy. Probably a lot of Egyptians were against it. You know, just like in our day and age, people are for and against the evil of abortion. I don't know why, but anyway. So whatever the case, they knew they had a good idea that she was going to take pity on this baby, and she does. She's disobeying dad, right? She should instead of taking this baby and wanting to care for it, she should call some of the soldiers and come down and kill it. It's a male Hebrew child. Obviously, it's only a few months old. It's a baby. One of the Hebrews didn't do their job. We need to finish it. No, but she's not like that. She has a little morality. She's not into baby killing. Because here's the deal. Every single human being in their heart knows that killing babies is wrong. Well, how can so many people be for abortion? Because they've been convinced and brainwashed that it's not a baby. Anyway, so that's not to say there's not pure evil in the world and people would, but they're demon-possessed people, demon-influenced people who would say, yes, I like the fact that we're killing that child right there. That's great. Let's do that more. Anyway, so Pharaoh's daughter is not into that stuff. This is one of the Hebrews' children. Then his sister, Miriam, Julie on the spot, I should say, she's a girl. right? She's watching this whole thing. She makes sure, oh, there's Pharaoh. Pharaoh's daughter has had pity. She's probably holding the baby. Oh, look at this beautiful baby. And so she rushes down and says, hey, you want my mom to take care of that baby for you? Tell me this isn't a master plan. Have you ever noticed this before? Where it's a master plan, it's not just something that happens, it's not something, right? I mean, because in the movies and stuff, they kind of give it a coincidental kind of thing, or
It's left up to chance.
it's left up to chance. And,
No.
no, it's not. This is so. Then his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and call you a nurse from the Hebrew women? To nurse the child for you?" And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Go." So the girl went and called the child's mother, her mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, so she brings mom down, and they have to play this whole act. Oh, you want me to help you with this baby? It's great stuff. Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this child away and nurse him for me, and I will give you your wages." What a master plan! Not only do they get to keep Moses safe, but they get paid to do so. One of the most genius plans in all of history. This is Moses' parents should have been generals of war or something. She gets paid. Now this should remind you of what's coming, which is the Israelites are going to leave Egypt, but they're not just going to leave Egypt. When they leave Egypt, they're going to plunder Egypt. They're going to take their stuff. They're going to take their gold, right? They plundered the Egyptians. And this should also remind you of Christ himself, who's placed on the cross, and in that act of brutality, of being crucified, of injustice, because he never committed any sin, although it was pure justice because he took all the sins of the world upon himself. In that act, Satan thinks he has won, thinks the victory is his, but in that very act, Christ himself plunders hell and takes away from Satan any call to take his children away. Anyway, it's a common theme throughout Scripture that not only are God's enemies thwarted and destroyed, but God's people reap the benefits of their destruction. This is some of the Psalms. Some of the Psalms are a little creepy because it talks about this, where we will delight in the enemy's destruction, and we will reap the benefits of their evil, of the stuff they acquired through evil, right? I mean, but this is God's plan, not ours. So the woman took the child and nursed him. So put him in this ark, and sent him down the river, and then he comes right back home. And he's nursed until he's weaned. So the woman took the child and nursed him. When the child grew up, she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. She named him Moses. What was his name before that? Boy. Hebrew boy. Because she said, "I drew him out of the water." So
the mom, being the nurse they hired, got to keep him? I mean, he didn't even live with the Pharaoh's daughter until he was weaned?
yeah, which is how long?
2 years?
2 to 3 years old. Yeah. And I'm sure she milked it out as long as she, pun intended, she milked it out as long as she could.
So to speak. Oh yeah, he's not ready yet. Give him another year.
Yeah, so he's probably about 3 years old, and then that must have been heartbreaking to give him back to Pharaoh's daughter, but they knew he would be safe and he would be raised in, in royal conditions.
Yeah.
It's going to be royalty. Prince of Egypt as the, is it Disney? Whatever.
DreamWorks maybe?
DreamWorks, whatever company made that movie, Prince of Egypt. He truly became a Prince of Egypt. Pharaoh's daughter's son, adopted son.
So did she go visit him, or did they just go yank him away?
Okay, come with us now.
We're not told those details, but I don't know. Could have went either way. Maybe they could have. But you get the idea. The scripture's putting before you that this Pharaoh's daughter is a pretty compassionate woman, and she doesn't know that Moses, the boy that she names Moses, is the son of these people, of this woman, and the sister of this little girl that told her to go find a woman, right? So she doesn't know any of that. She just thinks this is a random Hebrew boy that she found. She's going to raise. Mm-hmm. So she gives this gives him to this Hebrew woman to wean, and then once he's weaned, now she's adopting this baby as her own. So I don't imagine they could have put up too much of a fight about it, because that would have given it away. So I think it was probably amicable when the time came.
Right, well, it's do or die.
Right, exactly. One more thing, it's only 12:28, so we've got a couple minutes. But his name, he's brought to Pharaoh's daughter, and she gives him the name Moses, which means drew out, and raises him in her household. He is raised as royalty, and the name she gives is ironic. Right? His name is drew out. It's ironic because he will draw his people out of the Red Sea. So he's given a name to draw out, because he's drawn out of the sea, right, out of the river. And his very name, what this drew out person will do is draw out his own people from Egypt through the Red Sea for their salvation, while the Egyptians are drowned. So you see, this can only be God's work at play, of course. But you see all these interesting parallels and foreshadowings of the things to come, even in the infancy story of Moses. I guess we'll leave off there. So we'll start at verse 11 next week. Any comments, questions, concerns, issues, etc.?
Can I read a text from Mabel?
Sure.
This is not biblical, obviously, but she said in the halls, I asked her, how are you doing? And she says, not okay at all. And she said in the halls, you can literally hear people say he deserved it out loud, and that others deserve to die with him, and people are happy about it.
That's awful.
That's awful. It's sad.
And I said, we will be going to the office when I get there, because you know what? They can't run around and say that trans people are mentally ill. You know, Mabel has to be respectful of other people's, and the fact that these other kids can run around and threaten my daughter like that is very
It's
upsetting.
sad. They're just monkey see, monkey do stuff.
Oh,
most of them. They don't have no clue.
No, totally. But it's just awful.
There's a thing that comes up on Facebook called The Mocking Sun, which instead of The Morning Sun. And they write little editorials, and sometimes they're funny, but they are true Trump haters.
Oh, for sure.
And they said about Charlie Kirk that he was taking a stance on the Second Amendment. He said, who once told America that gun deaths were simply worth it.
Yeah, you gotta understand in the context of what, that's not all, it's not he just said, we're so
They end
stupid.
with, the nation's still unwilling to admit that worth it stops sounding brave once your own name is in the headline.
It's so,
It's like,
It's just pure evil. They know better. They take selective quotes out of things without putting them in context.
Right.
And one of the most vile evil groups out there is Occupy Democrats. And the stuff that they put out yesterday, and I'm sure today, I don't even want to look today, but it's just pure evil. It's just,
and somebody tried to blame Trump.
and I have family members who share that
Right.
stuff, and I love them, and they just don't know any better, and they're not going to take the time to research where these quotes came from and in what context and all that kind of stuff and what he was really saying. So that's just that's just the evil in the world.
Oh, for sure.
All right.
Anyway,
Anything else?
no.
The grace of our Lord Jesus Christ and the love of God and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with you all. Amen.